Credit recovery instruction. So starting on this first sheet of complex numbers, for number one we're adding. So remember, when we're adding, we're just adding the like terms. 3 plus 4, 7. 2i plus negative 5i is negative 3i. So this one would be 7 minus 3i. So remember, when adding and subtracting, you're combining like terms, and then you're done. Now for squaring, remember that the 2 means to multiply this times itself. So we're going to have 3 minus 2i times 3 minus 2i for number 7. And then remember that to multiply you have to FOIL. First terms, 3 times 3. Outer terms, 3 times negative 2i. Inner terms, 3 times negative 2i. And then last terms. So negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, positive 4. I times I is I squared. And don't forget that I squared is equal to negative 1. So once you're done FOILing, you have to combine your like terms. So we got 9, and 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. So 9 minus 4 is 5. Negative 6i minus 6i is minus 12i. So remember, you're FOILing on these multiplying ones. Okay, on the dividing ones, remember that you have to multiply by the conjugate over itself when there's an I in the denominator. So for example, in number 19, okay, the conjugate is the plus. So 1 plus I over 1 plus I. The only thing that changes is the sign in between. And so then you're going to FOIL the top, just like we've been doing in the last few problems, and combining like terms. And then we're going to FOIL the bottom and combine like terms. Okay? So for 25 and 26, it says show that this is a solution to this. So you're going to have to use the quadratic formula on those. So for 25 and 26, and you're going to have to simplify all the way, the quadratic formula is that, where A is 1, B is negative 2, and C is 2. Okay, so you have to do 1 through 28. You're probably definitely going to need to do them on a separate piece of paper. Okay, factoring. Just as a reminder how to factor. So remember that when your A value is a 1, okay, we're going to use the X factor. It's a trinomial. It's a quadratic. So we do 1 times negative 45. 12 on the bottom. The middle term goes on the bottom. Remember, it's A times C, B on the bottom. So two numbers that multiply to give us negative 45 and add to give us 12. So that's going to be, let's see, 45. 15 times 3 is 45. We want a positive 12, so we're going to make this one positive and this one negative. That makes a negative 45 when you multiply. It makes a 12 when you add. So don't forget, we take the A value, which is 1. Remember that that's an A value over the factor. 1 A value on top over the factor. And so then we have 1x plus 15 as one factor. 1x minus 3 as the other factor. And then we have factored our trinomial. Moving down, now when the a value is not a, okay, so 7 through 14, the a value is not a. Let's do 13. So notice on 13, it's not quadratic, but notice that all three numbers are divisible by 5. So we're going to factor out a 5. All three terms have an x, so I'm going to factor out an x. So remember, we're dividing. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay, so I divided each term by 5x. Notice 20 divided by 5 is 4. 2 took 1 away, gives us 1. And then I did the same thing on the last one. Now, 5x is going to be our one of the factors. We have to try and factor this using the x factor. Okay? Moving on. Looking at this page, just a reminder here that the parent for quadratic, you can look that up. You can write that there, the equation for the parent. The transformations, just a reminder on top here, let's put them down. And, and this is true for any function. So any function. So like here's quadratic, here's absolute value, here's exponential. So remember that the number in the front, like this 2 here, that's your a value, stretch or compression. H, remember, is your left and right. So like here, 1 unit to the right. And then your k value is your up and down. So for example, here we'd have 1 unit down, translated 1 unit down. Now notice I didn't put a square here. This is just a generic function. So whatever grouping symbol it is will help you determine what type of function it is. Okay? So this grouping symbol on number 2 is absolute value function. Okay? So you're going to write the parent, the transformations that you see here using this information, and then graph it. Don't forget, if you need help graphing, there's a calculator on the computer called Desmos, on the internet I mean. Just search for that and you'll come up with the graphing calculator. Next page, given the parent function, okay, and a description, so it tells you the parent is absolute value, that's y equals the absolute value of x. And then here we have a transformation, write the equation. So we got a vertical shift of up 5. Remember, that's your k value. Up means plus. Shifts right 3. So remember that this is going to be minus, because remember, shifting left and right is the opposite. Shifting right 3. So rewriting this, we have x minus 3. That's shifting right 3 and up 5. And I didn't mean to write on this, so somebody's going to get a copy of this that already has number 11 done. Okay. And matching the graph to the equation. Let's move on. All right, inverse. Remember, the inverse, the key to remember is, for inverse, we switch the x and the y. Switch them around. Whoops, I spelled switch wrong. Switch. If I can think, switch, switch. Oh boy. Can't even think this morning. Switch. Switch. The x and the y. So that's all you have to do on 1 and 2. So for the equations, remember we switch the x and the y, and then we solve for y. I'm running out of time here, guys. Class is about to begin, so I'm trying to give you guys as much help as I can. But for example, on number 16, switch the x and the y. Okay, and then don't forget, we solve for y. So we undo square root with square. Then we subtract the 5. So our inverse function is going to be x squared minus 5. There's your inverse. Okay. Finally, numbers 19 through, I guess there's more on the back, but we're going to stop here. 19 through 20. Verify. F and G are inverses. So don't forget, when you want to verify, you plug one function into the other. So I'm going to go ahead and plug function G into function F, and if I do that and I get X when I simplify it, then they are inverses of each other. So function G is x minus 6. I'm going to plug it in to function F for x. Everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put x minus 6. So I'm going to have x minus 6 plus 6. Okay? And I want that to turn out to be x if they're inverses. Well, negative 6 plus 6 cancels. So x equals x. So yes, for number 19, they are inverses. Inverses. Okay, well, I hope this helps you out with your credit recovery. Remember, when you get back, there will be an assessment that you have to pass. You have to have this all completed, okay, or at least most of it. And then if you have questions, I will help you when you come back from Christmas break. But within the first couple weeks, I would like you to get the assessment done so I can get the grade change in and get your credit for first semester. Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a good break.